So I did have cellophane on this earlier, but this is a chuck roast, and I put a rub on it last night. What I actually used was this Sweet Preacher Fire and Smoke Society brand. It's actually a pork rub, but it's going to taste really good on this chuck roast. And then I hit it with just a typical Montreal steak seasoning. And the pepper in this Montreal steak seasoning is going to give the smoke something to really stick to on this chuck roast. And what I'm going to do with this chuck roast today is make a beef stew. So have the rub on overnight, we're going to get it on the smoker, and we're going to get started on a beef stew. Rose is going to do the honors. Get this bad boy lit. Stick it right in there.
There's a cube right under there. Oh, she's gonna get it lit. Did it catch yet? Yeah, you got her going now. So that cube will just keep burning. That kindling will be going. And then we'll throw one of these logs on. Hickory. Good job, Rose.
Okay, everybody. So now I've got my I've got all my vegetables all cut up in here. Like I said, I didn't really cut anything up. I've got the whole portobello mushrooms. I just chopped up my potatoes in big chunks. Whole baby carrots. I did have to chop up some celery. I put some celery in here, and I chopped up some onions. And I just have big chunks of onions. And then finally, I put in some garlic that I also did chop up a little bit. So big chunks of onions, just everything in big chunks. And what we're gonna do now is just add some beef broth. And so I've just got a Kroger beef broth here, and I'm just gonna fill this pan right up. And I've got some cans of it as well. And it's gonna be delicious. It'll be one nice beef stew. I'll just add as many of these cans as I need. I wanna get this probably about halfway full, maybe 3/4 of the way full in this pan here. So I'll probably need at least, I'd say, 2 cans. I'm just gonna throw a little of this Montreal steak seasoning right over the top of my veggies. Give that smoke a little something to stick to. And these are gonna come out delicious. Last but not least, just gonna get some butter on here. I mean, to be totally honest, I have no idea what I'm doing. But I mean, when you're just cooking potatoes with butter and salt and pepper and carrots, and you're throwing them on a smoker and just infusing smoke into them, I mean, you really can't mess it up at all. You really can't mess it up at all. I don't think I've ever had anything come off that grill that hasn't been just even better than what we get when we go to restaurants.
It's always good.
Just saying.
Delicious.
Just saying, Rose.
Can't even mess it up. Not even if you try.
Throw a little butter on there. Fuel chamber, ready to go. Come take a look at this, Rose. So I'm about to close this lid, and it takes a little bit of time for these logs to really develop coals. So I have to keep adding a log onto the fire every once in a while just to keep it going. But that's ready. We're gonna get our meat on this smoker. I'll start it like that. I'll put the vegetables right there. They shouldn't get burned at all. I have my meat down here. This chamber is gonna heat up to about 230 degrees, and that's gonna be perfect. So now that my first 3 logs have pretty much turned into a bed of coals, if I just say whacked those logs that break up into coals, at this point I can grab another log here. I'm using hickory wood, and just throw it on the top like that, and that'll give a little more fuel to the fire, so it'll just keep going. Nice amount of smoke coming out of there right now. If we open up our cooking chamber, it's only been about 30 minutes, so I just wanted to check on my vegetables. I might give these a stir because some of the vegetables on the top are starting to brown.
And meat's looking good. I don't usually open it this soon. Just wanted to show this temperature gauge is just at 250. And man, you can get that gauge for like $3 and it turns black by the end of the cook. And it just wipes right off. And good as new. No sense in spending a lot of money. Rosie has taken a break to fill up our bird feeder. All right. So we've got a nice bed of coals going right now. These logs, you always have to keep moving them around during the cook, and I'm just gonna throw another one on here, and that's gonna help to keep my temperature up. I just move them around with the tongs too. And that'll help keep giving some fuel to the fire. And that's looking really good right there. Once you get a nice bed of coals, it's cooking good. I broke the handle off of the door to my fuel chamber, but that's okay. So we're going to take a look at this right now. We've got our vegetables in here. They've been smoking. They brown at the top. This is really the first time I've ever made a beef stew like this. So I think that's going to be just fine. And I'm just going to stir them up a little bit. And then we've got our chuck roast over here. We'll stick this doodad in there. And we'll see what we're working with for an internal temperature right now. And it's going up to about 113 on the rise. It's at 113 right now, so it's on the rise. Our oven cooking chamber is at about 250 right now, so we're looking good. It's been about an hour, so I'll probably start. This is looking like it's starting to get just a little bit dry right in here, so I'll probably spritz it with just a little bit of water, maybe 50% apple cider vinegar, 50% water, and we're just gonna let this keep going. What do you know? We've got ourselves a bird. He flew away. So one other thing that I forgot to mention, I always like to just take some butter, about say 15 to 20 minutes before I start spritzing, and I'll just rub down my meat with the butter. I've got a bird. There's a bird on the feeder. They keep flying away every time we come out. There he is. There he goes. Off to the woods. I really haven't had to spritz it at all since I put that butter on. It just looks pretty moist, probably because I have so much liquid over here. Some of those potatoes are getting a little bit more smoked than I'd prefer. It's been about probably 35-40 minutes since I've come out to stir it, so I'll probably have to stir it a little bit more often, but that'll add to the smoked flavor, I think. This beef stew's gonna be good. So we're at about 143 degrees right now in our chuck roast, and it only absorbs the smoked flavor until about 150. So maybe 155, maybe as high as 160, but right around 150, 160 is when it's no longer absorbing the smoked flavor. So what I like to do right now is mop a little bit of barbecue sauce on there, which will cook into that bark. And then once it hits about 150, 155, I'll wrap it in foil and bring it really high up in temperature, and that'll get it nice and tender. But I like to put the barbecue sauce on right about now and bake it right into that bark. Gives it a great bark, great flavor. Okay, so for my barbecue sauce, when I'm cooking for the masses, I just keep it sweet. If I'm cooking for myself, I'll go spicier, but this one's for the whole family. So I'll start with a little bit of Sweet Baby Ray's, and once I get some of that in there, I'll mix it up. And these are the ingredients that I like to use. A1, I like this Maggi seasoning, it's just really good, and Worcestershire sauce. So we'll just take a little bit of each one and just kind of pour it in there. And this is actually a really good combination. I'll put it on ribs, I'll put it on roasts, I'll put it on steak, I put it on pretty much everything.
I really like the flavor of A1. It's a really good barbecue sauce, so that'll be kind of the most of it. And I don't mind if that flavor gets into my beef stew at all, and then we'll just stir it up like so. And this is what we're going to use to mop on to our chuck roast. Just gonna mop this barbecue sauce right on my chuck roast. Man, that's gonna be good. It's gonna cook right in there and form a nice bark. Vegetables are looking good. Temperature's at 151 right now, and it's ready to be wrapped. So you see how that barbecue sauce cooked right into the bark. Now I'm going to wrap it in foil, and that'll shoot that internal temperature up to probably 175, 180 within about 30 minutes to an hour. And then I'm gonna remove these from the heat for now because they're getting close to being done. And then once this gets up to temp, up to about 180, I'll probably chop it up and put it in here and finish this thing off for about another hour.
Got another piece of wood.
That will probably be the last log we have to throw on here. We've gone through about 4 or 5 logs so far today. And you see we've got a nice bed of coals in there right now. It's just beautiful. You want to throw that log on there, Rose?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see what you got. Careful now. Don't burn yourself. Not bad. Not bad at all. That ought to get us through.
Yeah.
Now you see how my gauge is turning black. Ooh, that's going to be affected, I think, by that heat right there coming out. 191, 994, 95, 97. It's going right up. Right at 200, 201. It might be being affected a little bit by that fuel chamber, but it's right at about 200, 204. That's going to be nice and tender. We're ready to take this thing off and mix it up with our veggies and put the whole tray back on. What do you think, Rose?
It's gonna be great.
Here we have half the tray. This is the tray of vegetables that I took off the smoker a while ago because it's getting close to being done, and it only needs about another 30 minutes to an hour. So it cooked a little bit faster than my roast did. I wasn't sure exactly how that would go, but so I'm gonna just transfer it, and I'm actually gonna use 2 trays right now. So I'm gonna put half of it in here, and then we'll cut up our roast. At this point, now that it's up to temperature, it's going to be nice and tender. It's 200 plus degrees. So we're going to cut that up into cubes, and we'll also add it to this mixture. And now you'll see that my broth here has actually cooked down quite a bit. And I'll take some of these huge chunks of potatoes at this point and just cut them in half like so. They cut real easy, and they're just still really big. I did that on purpose so that they take a little while longer to cook, but you can see that these trays are a little dry, so I'm just gonna have to take a can of beef broth like so, add it. If you want, you could add a little bit of red wine in there. I don't usually put it in my cooking, but it add a great flavor as well. I'll probably add a little bit more water and throw in some of these beef bouillon cubes and a little tomato paste and a bay leaf, and then I'm going to throw it all right back on there with the meat in it. And now my roast is looking really good, so we're going to cut into this bad boy right here. Cut it right there to begin. That's a little fatty, that section, and now we'll just cut right into it. And oh yeah, this is going to be great. And I'm just going to cut it like so. It's going to be nice and tender. And we're just going to cube it, and you're seeing a little bit of a nice red smoke ring right around the edge there, which is nice. And yeah, we're going to just cube it up and drop it right into these trays and get it back on that smoker for about another hour. It's looking good now that we've got some beef in there, and I really like the look of that. Look at that. There's a nice smoke ring. There's a nice smoke ring on this meat. I mean, it is looking just delicious. Man! Rosie is putting it on for the final time. This bad boy needs about another 30 to 60 minutes
to simmer, get that bay leaf flavor in there, and that tomato paste, let that all thicken up that sauce. And it's gonna be good. We got one more tray of it right here. Man, it's gonna be one good beef stew, eh, Rosie?
Yes, it's gonna be delicious.
Okay, so it's time to give this bad boy a taste. It's looking pretty good. I'm gonna use a spoon. Try some of these vegetables. That's really good. Big old bite of chuck roast. Rose, you're gonna love it. Man, that's good. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you the next time.
Okay, everybody. So I've had a couple bowls of my beef stew, and to be totally honest, if you really wanna make it just even that much better, what you gotta do is get some of this King Ghost hot sauce from the Pepper Palace. And all you need is about 5 or 6 drops of this stuff right in there. Telling you. Big difference right here. Throw a little ghost pepper hot sauce in that beef stew. Can't go wrong.